I still remember the way the snow was falling outside that night. Christmas Eve. The world looked soft, peaceful. But inside me, something cracked. I was in the ER, doing a double shift because a family of 4 had come in after a drunk driving accident. The mom didn't make it. The dad was unconscious. And I was holding the hand of a 7-year-old girl whose Christmas would never be the same. I had a duty. So I worked. I didn't complain. I never do. I knew my daughter, Emma, understood. She's 16. She's strong, brave, and more thoughtful than most adults I've met. But I didn't know that while I was saving someone's child, my own was being quietly pushed aside, cast out, uninvited, forgotten, by the very people I had once called family. It wasn't until after midnight that I got Emma's text. There was no exclamation mark, no festive cheer, just 6 words. Words that haunted me more than any patient I've lost. They said there's no room, Mom. At first, I didn't understand. No room? At the table? At the house? What kind of family turns away a 16-year-old girl on Christmas Eve? I called her immediately. She answered with a voice so steady it broke my heart. Grandma said they had too many guests already. Aunt Lisa brought her new boyfriend and his kids. They needed the space. I was silent. She filled it with more. She told me I could just go home and spend the night there. Said you'd be back late anyway. She paused. I'm okay, though. I lit the fireplace. I'm watching a movie. I knew she was lying. She always says she's okay when she's not. Because she didn't want me to worry. Because that's how I raised her. Too well, maybe. That night, I stayed past my shift. Not because I had to, but because I couldn't go home knowing she had to face that silence alone. Knowing my own parents, my own sister, chose strangers over my daughter, over their granddaughter. And so I began to plan. Not out of spite, not out of rage, but out of something colder. More still. Like the snow falling outside. Justice. Before we continue, if this story has your heart racing or your eyes misty, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories that hit deep. Your support helps us keep sharing truths that matter. The next morning, I got home at 5:17 a.m. Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, still dressed, a single candle lit beside her. The living room was silent. The tree was glowing, but the gifts under it looked lonelier than ever. I kissed her forehead, tucked a blanket around her, and sat by the fire until the sun rose, thinking, planning, remembering. You see, this wasn't the first time. This wasn't just a one-time oversight. This had been coming for years. Ever since I decided not to take over my father's law firm. Ever since I went to med school instead. They said I was being selfish, ungrateful. Who will want a working woman with a child? That's what they told me when I got pregnant at 19. When my boyfriend left. And they only accepted Emma into the fold when it made them look good. A hard-working single mom daughter they could parade around. A granddaughter they could post about on Facebook with those matching pajamas. But behind closed doors, there were whispers, judgments, distance. And now, this. No room for her. Not even on Christmas. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just wrote. A letter. 1 page. Typed. Folded. Slid into an envelope with a photo of Emma alone on the couch that night. A second envelope went to my sister, Lisa. Same letter. Different picture. Her with her boyfriend's kids. Laughing. Emma in the background. Walking out the front door. Alone. I left both letters in their mailboxes that morning before anyone woke. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. They'd know. They'd feel it. And they'd hear it too. Because I also sent the same message to the family group chat. But not with words. With silence. A photo. Of Emma's plate. Untouched. At our table. With a single card in front of it. Reserved for someone you didn't make room for. That's all it said. And then I turned my phone off. For the first time in years, I didn't answer, didn't explain, didn't beg. By 9:04 a.m., the messages began. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from my mother, my sister, even from Lisa's boyfriend. The group chat was blowing up. What the hell is this supposed to mean? How dare you ruin Christmas morning like this? We made a choice. It wasn't personal. But it was personal. They just didn't expect me to finally make it personal back. I sat at the breakfast table, sipping my coffee. Emma was still asleep. The snow had stopped falling. But inside their house, it was just beginning to storm. I could feel it. I could hear it. Even through the silence I'd chosen. My father's voice echoed in one voicemail. You crossed a line. And for the first time, I whispered aloud. So did you. The letter had been short, deliberate, cruel only in the way truth often is. Here's what it said. To the people who always had room for strangers, but never for the child who carries my name. I hope the laughter you shared was worth the emptiness she felt. I hope the warmth of your crowded table could drown out the echo of a door closing behind her. You didn't forget Emma. You chose to exclude her. You made her drive home alone on Christmas. At 16. And this isn't about a chair at the table. It's about what you've been quietly telling her for years. She doesn't belong. She's not your priority. She's not really one of you. I will not force my daughter to sit where she's only tolerated. I will not teach her that love comes with humiliation. And I will no longer be part of your performance. Consider this the end of the act. By noon, my sister posted a vague rant on Facebook about family drama and people taking things too far. But I didn't reply. I just watched. And so did others. Aunts, cousins, family friends. They all saw it. And some of them messaged me privately. Is it true? Did they really send her away? I'm so sorry. I had no idea. One even said, if you ever want to spend next Christmas with us, our door is open. That's when it hit me. Maybe blood isn't the only way we define family. Pause here if this story has moved you in any way, or made you reflect on what family truly means. Please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that speak from the heart. Your support helps this message reach others who need it. That evening, Emma woke up late. We were still in our pajamas, still sitting in the afterglow of a day we reclaimed as our own. She looked at me with soft, unsure eyes. Did I do something wrong, Mom? I felt the sting rush to the back of my throat. That a child could ask that after being rejected. I leaned in and held her face. No, sweetheart. They did. She nodded slowly. But I could see something behind her eyes. Something heavy. Something I needed to lift. So I stood up, took her hand, and said, let's rewrite Christmas. We went to the pantry, grabbed our favorite junk food, popped popcorn, watched The Grinch, and I gave her a small velvet box I'd been saving. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet. It read, You are always enough. She started crying. And so did I. Because in that moment, I knew. I hadn't lost family. I'd protected mine. The next few days were quiet. No apologies. No explanations. Just silence. Which was louder than screaming. It told me they were ashamed. It told me they weren't ready to face what they'd done. And I wasn't going to beg them to. I removed myself from the group chat. Blocked Lisa. Muted my mother's calls. And I started to plan something else. Not revenge. Exactly. But closure. Justice. Maybe. A way to make sure they truly understood what they'd lost. 6 months later, I was contacted by my grandfather's estate attorney. He had passed 2 years earlier. A complicated man, but one who always liked Emma. Before his passing, he had created a will. With very clear terms. The family would inherit parts of his estate. but the executor had discretionary power if family values were not being upheld. And I was the executor. Because my grandfather trusted me. And no one else knew it. Until now. Until I mailed them my version of a Christmas card in July. Inside were updated documents. Revisions. Each of them was being removed from consideration. Due to a documented pattern of exclusionary behavior toward a minor in the family. Emma, instead, would inherit everything. The properties. The bonds. The land. Everything. And the look on their faces when they read it? I'll never know for sure. But I imagine it looked a lot like the photo I had sent months earlier. Of an empty chair. With a name card that read, "Reserved for someone you didn't make room for." I used to think healing was loud. Like crashing waves. Or sobbing on a bathroom floor. But sometimes, it's just peace. It's silence without tension. It's sitting with your daughter and realizing. You both feel safe. Really safe. For the first time in years. That summer, Emma and I did something spontaneous. We packed up the car, turned off our phones, and drove until the sun touched the ocean. We laughed. We blasted old music. She made me listen to her favorite bands, and I made her promise not to judge mine. We talked more during that trip than we had in months. Maybe ever. About boys. About college. About the kind of mother she wanted to be someday. About the kind of woman she already was. And one night, sitting under a blanket of stars in a little coastal motel, she whispered, "I'm proud of you, Mom." And I finally let myself cry. Not the broken kind, but the release. The cleansing. Because for the first time, someone had made room for me. 2 weeks later, after we got home, there was a letter. Handwritten. From my mother. It read, "I realize now what we did. We were wrong. I don't expect forgiveness, but I do hope to find a way back." There were no excuses. But there was also no ownership. No mention of Emma directly. Just guilt. And fear. Fear of being left behind. Of being cut out. Of having no say in a future they never invested in. I showed the letter to Emma. She read it. Folded it. Placed it in a drawer. "I don't need them," she said quietly. "They only wanted me when it cost them nothing." I nodded. Because sometimes, healing is knowing you can move on without needing an apology to define your worth. Quick reminder. If this story is resonating with you, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We share real, raw, emotional stories that speak to the heart. Your support keeps us going. The following Christmas, I hosted. Our house wasn't the biggest, or the most decorated, but it was full. Of love. Of warmth. Of people who chose to be there. Our neighbors. Emma's best friend and her mom. My co-workers from the ER. The ones who had held my hand through many long nights. And at the center of the table, there was a chair. Gold-rimmed. A little fancier than the others. With a place card that simply read, "Emma." That year, she didn't have to earn her seat. She didn't have to prove herself. Or be quiet to be tolerated. She just had to be. And that was enough. That's all it ever should have taken. The following spring, I made a decision. There was one last property my grandfather had left behind. A large home in upstate New York. The one we used to visit as kids. The one my parents swore would stay in the family. I put it up for auction. Open bidding. No reserved buyers. My mother called the second the listing went live. "You can't do this," I replied, calm as snowfall. "I already did." Lisa tried too. Even cried. Said her boyfriend had dreamed of retiring there. I just smiled. Because dreams built on exclusion deserve to fall. That summer, Emma gave a speech. It was at a local youth event. Something about resilience and growth. She'd been nominated without telling me. I sat in the audience, heart pounding. And then I heard her voice. There was a time I thought family meant people who shared your blood. But I learned that family is who shows up when you're hurting. Who makes space for you. Not just at their table, but in their heart. My mom taught me that. I wept silently. Because my daughter had turned pain into purpose. And all I had to do was protect her long enough to let her bloom. I haven't spoken to my parents since that final letter. I don't think I will. And that's not bitterness. That's peace. I've realized something important. Some people are chapters, but not the whole story. And if I kept rereading the same painful page, I'd miss the beauty being written right in front of me. Emma. Her future. Our healing. That's the story now. And it's one I'll never stop telling. Before we close, if you've ever felt left out by people who should have loved you the most, if you've ever had to rebuild with nothing but your own courage, then like this story, subscribe to our channel, and share your truth. You're not alone. Final reflection. Sometimes, revenge doesn't look like fire. It looks like freedom. It's not yelling. It's walking away and not looking back. It's creating a life so full, so authentic, so safe, that the ones who hurt you no longer matter. Not because you forgot, but because you chose you. And if someone once made you feel like there was no room at the table, remember this. You have the power to build your own table and fill it with love. So now I ask you, have you ever been pushed out of a space that should have been yours? And what did you do to take your power back? Tell us in the comments. We're listening.